Today's episode is brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can educate as many patriots as possible around the country. Today, we're kicking things off with international correspondent Alex Newman. Alex, it's a great pleasure for me to have back-to-back days talking to you. How are you today?
Doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Duke.
So, Alex, we have a school board director trying to host a queer event for kids and babies at a sex shop. So this is a school board director who is trying to host little kids for this. So as we saw yesterday, right? You got gay LGBTQ community organizations, you've got school boards, you've got libraries promoting this, gay bars promoting this again and again. It seems it's a very small number of people behind this, but boy, do they have access to little kids and know how to use it.
They do. And in fact, the lady who tried to organize this, in fact, who did organize it, Jen Mason, director of the school board at the Bellingham Public Schools, she actually has taught all kinds of classes on sexuality in all the public schools in Bellingham. In fact, even before she became a member of the school board, she was involved in teaching and targeting little children. All the while, she is the owner of a sex shop. And I encourage people to go look at the things that this sex shop sells. It's called Wink Wink. And they sell children books, encouraging children to engage in homosexuality, fornication, gender confusion, things like this. They also sell absolutely grotesque sex toys. They sell these things for people to tie each other up when they're engaged in weird things. And this is where she wanted to bring school children to have a queer open mic night. And again, notice that they were targeting children ages 0 to 18. We're talking about the sexualization of little babies. It's hard to imagine something more grotesque than this. And a lot of critics did point out here that this is grooming. Under the standard technical definition provided by the American Bar Association, interestingly enough. And also you had a number of critics say that this was aimed at normalizing pedophilia and the sexualization of children. It's unconscionable, Duke, and I'm amazed that this could happen without law enforcement taking a look.
I think we've got to stop using the word grooming, Alex. I don't think it's nearly enough. Tell me, you're a wise man. You have a journalistic background. You have encountered many legalities in your day. Explain to me how you cannot use the word sex trafficking when you're dealing with this. This case in particular. The bar made money in the one we talked about yesterday, the gay bar in Dallas. In this case, this woman who's a school board member wants to bring the kids to her sex shop to profit from the grooming of children. I mean, are we not? You've got national and international pride groups raking in hundreds of millions of dollars exploiting these children. Explain to me why we don't go for the much more serious charge of sex trafficking. And this isn't just your everyday sex trafficking. This is sex trafficking children as young as, in their words, not mine, 0 years old into this fold.
Yeah, and we need to understand that is ultimately the objective. I mean, you and I have been talking about this for a lot of years, Duke. They have this agenda, and they've made it pretty clear at this point. It's been pretty out in the open that they view pedophilia, that they view sexual relationships between adults and children as merely a different form of sexuality. I mean, you've had some of these people publicly argue that we need to get rid of laws on age of consent so that children can exercise their so-called sexual rights. Okay, this is the kind of garbage that Planned Parenthood has pushed in some of their policy documents and some of their documents coming down from the international level. And if this process is not interrupted, that is the end objective. In fact, we showed a video years ago on this program, the assistant superintendent of curricula for a school district in California, explaining that they had to teach the kids about sex between adults and children because it's just a different sexual orientation that has existed in history. Okay. we need to understand these things are criminal. They need to be viewed as criminal, and any society that doesn't protect children from this is a society that, in my opinion, is completely sick and is doomed to destruction.
Yeah, again, I go back. You're exactly right, and everything you described there is indeed a legitimate way of discussing sex trafficking. And if you think about, we've got a video, a slide here from Facebook talking about the event, which ended up being at a church, believe it or not. Wow. We are so happy to have welcomed 100-ish folks to listen to the young people at Queer Youth Open Mic tonight. We're proud of those who took the stage with their heartfelt, funny, emotional, and always brilliant voices. Okay, on the same altar in which you celebrate the great Christian mysteries, where you deliver your sermons, we've now got actually grotesque drag queen shows occupying that space. This is what they've always wanted. I mean, we talked about this yesterday, the eliding of Christianity is what we're dealing with here, that you've got to get rid of the moral and ethical code. And I've said this many times, Alex, and I'll give you the last word. For all you moms and dads out there who just think this is cute and kitschy and child appropriate, ask yourself this one question. Do you really think they're giving your kids at ages 5 and 7 and 9 this intense sexual education, but then are actually wagging their finger at the children and saying, oh, you can have all this sexual education, you can have all this sexual temptation, but you got to wait until you're 18 to do it, okay? No. They're doing it to make your kids right now at age 7 and 5 and 9, to sexualize them, to make them open to sex, even with much older people.
That's right. And ultimately, the agenda is to undermine the nuclear family, to replace family with the state. This was very clear from Karl Marx onwards. They want to replace the family as the nurturer, the raiser of children, the transmitter of values and culture and religion and civilization from one generation to the next. They want to replace that whole system that has been the bedrock of society for time immemorial. They want to replace that all with government control over the upbringing, the raising of children, the instilling of values. It's sick, it's grotesque, and parents, you need to protect your children from this. Nobody else is going to do it for you.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
On yet another day that ends in Y, the President of the United States, Joseph Robinette Biden, is pissing on you while it's raining, and yet he's out there trying to tell you that everything is sunshine and rainbows.
The point is this. We've laid an economic foundation that's historically strong, and now we're moving forward to a new moment where we can build on that foundation, build a future of stable, steady growth, so we can bring down inflation without sacrificing all the historic gains we've made. And that's what we're beginning to see in today's jobs report.
Yes, all the jobs are being filled out there, except for the ones that are permanently gone from small businesses that were forced to close because of everything happening in this economy that Joe keeps bragging about because he does not understand economics.
And as we move to a new period of stable, steady growth, we should expect to see more moderation. We aren't likely to see the kind of blockbuster job reports month after month like we had over this past year. But that's a good thing. That's a sign of a healthy economy with steady growth, rising wages for working families, everyday costs easing up, and shrinking the deficit. That stability puts us in a strong position to tackle what is clearly a problem, inflation. I've been very clear that fighting inflation is my top economic priority.
What is "that's a lie" for 800, Alex? R.I.P. Trebek. Let's just get the question of the day out there. Have you resorted to eating ramen? It's good, so why not? But seriously, let me know your thoughts on the ever-rising prices in the comments below. And please share this video because it's free. Almost nothing else is. And as Biden keeps saying, it's all Putin's fault.
The two challenges on the minds of most working families are prices at the pump and prices at the grocery store. Both of these challenges have been directly exacerbated by Putin's war in Ukraine. The price of gas is up $1.40 since the beginning of the year, when Putin began amassing troops at the Ukrainian border. This is a Putin price hike. Putin's war has raised the price of food because Ukraine and Russia are two of the world's major breadbaskets.
Fact check on aisle 3. Let's look at gas prices in just the few days since Biden announced the $1.40 increase from the beginning of the year. Let's not even look that far back. Today, we are at $4.95 per gallon of gas. Yet another new record. It costs you a Lincoln for 1 little gallon right now, and that's only the national average. As of right now, 10 states are already paying a Lincoln per gallon and probably getting closer to a Hamilton. Let's look back just 1 week. In 7 days' time, gas has increased 28 cents per gallon. Where I am in the Midwest, it's been a nickel a day increase, like clockwork. Again, I remind you that 1 year ago, just a few months into the Biden presidency, gas was at $3.06 per gallon, or $1.89 less than right now. And before that, we know gas was under $3. But mean tweets are mighty expensive, right? It appears that this stupidity may actually cost as much as at least one guy is awake to reality.
Two-pronged question for you, William. Okay. The first one is this, and Katie makes a great point. The fact that we are seeing gas prices impact people's pocketbooks so much right now, would that change how you're considering voting for the next election, whether it's congressional later this year or presidential a couple of years down the road?
Definitely, definitely. I just know that one administration had cheaper gas, and this administration has more expensive gas.
And this is a bottom line, strictly financial conclusion for you.
I mean, it's a housing market. It's everything you previously mentioned. Gas is a big part of it.
See how shocked the reporter is? This is a bottom line for you? Like being able to feed and clothe your little girl and the rest of your family? You're willing to deal with mean tweets or other bigots who think there are only two genders? For those of us who live in reality, so not Joey, know that sunshine and rainbows can quickly turn into downpours and even hurricanes. And that's what we're actually embarking upon.
Right now, it's kind of sunny. Things are doing fine. Everyone thinks the Fed can handle this. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way. We just don't know if it's a minor one or Superstorm Sandy or Sandy or Andrew or something like that. And you better brace yourself.
What does that guy know? Jamie Dimon? I mean, he's just the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, which operates only the largest bank in the United States and like the 6th largest bank worldwide. So yeah, what does he know? Unlike Joe Biden, I want to be clear. So for those of us who live in the Midwest and don't get those cyclone references when Dimon says economic hurricane, let's just say it'll be a twister with two cows, same cow kind of time.
Cow, I gotta go, Julia. We got cows. Another cow.
Actually, I think that was the same one.
That's how I feel too. And it's infuriating seeing it all happen before our eyes, and we can't do much of anything about it because those in political office and those who surround those in political office all are doing their agendas that have nothing to do with the citizenry they are supposed to be representing. And then there's the internal fighting. Black Biden staffers are quitting, marking what they call a Blaxit, claiming a lack of mentorship while doing a lot of work for no real path towards becoming decision makers. Haven't they learned, based on who is president and vice president right now, that there aren't decision makers there to make decisions? Based on who's president, you learn to just keep running for president and eventually you'll get put in office. And that brings us to... Where in the world is Kamala Lama Ding Dong? For her part on how to become vice president, Kamala Ding Dong has shown us that you just have to keep failing. Keep failing up and you'll get ahead. Take that whatever way you want. Just ask Willie Brown. But hey, on the positive, at least now the interns are going to get paid. Not like in the 1990s when White House interns performed... Oh, never mind. The drama within the White House continues, as Biden is mad as hell at his staff for correcting the senile old man. According to the NBC article, Inside a Biden White House Adrift, Biden is unhappy about a pattern that has developed inside the West Wing. He makes a clear and succinct statement only to have aides rush to explain that he actually meant something else. The so-called cleanup campaign, he has told advisors, undermines him and smothers the authenticity that fueled his rise. Worse, it feeds a Republican talking point that he's not fully in command. It feeds a talking point that anyone with a working frontal cortex knows Joey is not fully in command. Biden is rattled by his sinking approval ratings and is looking to regain voters' confidence that he can provide the sure-handed leadership he promised during the campaign, people close to the president say. Crises have piled up in ways that have at times made the Biden White House look flat-footed. Record inflation, high gas prices, a rise in COVID case numbers, and now a Texas school massacre that is one more horrific reminder that he has been unable to get Congress to pass legislation to curb gun violence. But Joey's not going to let this stand, even though he barely can. With all that flat-footedness and all, Biden's going to get out there more, because he needs to be more like his predecessor, who he hates and claims was awful, but he's now going to be more like him because his approval rating is worse than his predecessor, Orange Man Bad. Let me get this straight. Gas prices are at record highs, so the president is going to fly around the country in a Boeing 747-200B series aircraft to let people know how much pain he understands they are in for having to pay their mortgage rates at the pump.
And I understand the feeling. I grew up in a family about 100 miles from here that where the price of gas went up, you felt it. It was a discussion at the kitchen table.
Or within a 4,000 square foot metal tube that is paid for by taxpayers. But what do I know? Once again, little Joey proves that he has no original ideas, so of course nothing is his fault. Back to that NBC article. Biden's feeling lately is that he just can't catch a break. A staffer said that Biden is frustrated. If it's not one thing, it's another. And then there are signs of managerial breakdowns. Is this thing on? Have we not been saying this since day one of this presidency, back when gas prices were still under $3? Apparently, we have to start recognizing those as the good old days. Even the Biden White House staff members and a few in the news media have conceded and joined basically all of us in becoming the Howard Beals from Network.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
But let's watch the lead up to that pronouncement, because even though that was from a movie in 1976, it is real life in 2022.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it.
Sound like anything happening today? Like, even a little bit?
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
We don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone.
Sounds like a good plan to me. As we continue to say, all Biden needed to do when he came into office was nothing, and he couldn't accomplish that. So here we are, week in and week out, with the same mad as hell sentiment. But cast Satan aside and remember your F's: faith, family, and friends. And if you'd be so kind, please use your free will and share this video. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
It's time now for Trending Left. We've compiled some of the craziest stories, and believe me, there are a lot out there making waves across the internet. Today, we're going to start with a wild video from a mom who claims her 7-year-old child believes they are non-binary. While she admits her child doesn't know what pronouns are, it's still super important to take a 7-year-old seriously. Watch this nonsense.
One of my kids thinks they may be non-binary, and I'm saying they for now, but they haven't chosen a pronoun that they would prefer to be used because they're 7, so they don't really know what pronouns are. So in order to help us all figure out if this is because, you know, certain kids at school say, like, the haircut you have is a boy's haircut, and they don't like that, or if this is something that they're really feeling. We want to help everybody understand what it means to be non-binary and like what the options are.
Okay, clearly mom, if mom goes by mom or mom goes by something else, doesn't even understand what's happening. So how are you supposed to expect a 7-year-old to make any sense of the nonsense that mom's putting forth? How about you just let your child be the boy or girl that he or she is, and they can continue on with being a child? Well, next we're going to head to the classroom where an elementary teacher with an entire TikTok account dedicated to pride flags in school says her classroom is the most important place to hang a Pride Progress flag to help children embrace the LGBT agenda. Obviously, parents can't be trusted to raise their own kids. Roll it.
The Pride Progress flag specifically represents the need for continued progress in the areas of acceptance and inclusion for all members of the LGBTQ plus community. And I have those students in my classes at the school. So teaching that acceptance and inclusion in my classroom is absolutely the place to be teaching that. Insert here long awkward pause while I try to imagine why that wouldn't be the place to teach that.
It's like she's editing her own video by looking in a mirror, because you can see that she just continues to look off script because she needs to find what it actually says on the script for her to put in the, as she said, plus whatever. Now, speaking of pride flags in the classroom, school board members in Oak Grove School District in San Jose, California, also believe the flag of 1,000 sexual identities is just as important as the, American flag, and should be hung proudly in their elementary and middle schools.
So we have, received emails about the action item where the LGBT or the, Progress Pride flags would be raised starting in June all year round. So I would like to hear a little bit more about kind of your thought process and your rationale.
The reason why every day is because we want LGBTQ parents, we want straight parents, we want every type of family, no matter what they are, to look at any of our schools at our district and know immediately that this is a district where their families will be respected. This is a district that respects and supports and gives resources to LGBTQ families and parents and students and staff.
Okay, he said it himself. He wants the straight parents there as well. So if you have straight parents, where's the straight pride flag or Christian flag or any other flag that means anything else? Because everything is about flags these days. So I look forward to that school waving all of the flags they possibly can. But if you thought that was just nuts and bolts, but no bolts included, just wait until you hear this next teacher who explains why it's important to teach white 6-year-olds to take a back seat to black people and be quiet. Here's the insanity.
One theme that I'm thinking a lot about right now is I think there's this cultural fear. We see it a lot around don't talk about privilege, don't freak the white child out. So because of that cultural fear, in the research that I've done to write the book, I definitely found a level of silence among white parents of white children. So I think, what we can do now is really help caregivers understand that helping their white child know the story of resistance and the story of movements of people coming together that are always so diverse, but movements that are led by people of color. And how do you take a back seat and be quiet and learn? I mean, even that shift, those kinds of learnings, that's what I'm really interested in right now, is sort of being quieter, helping people of privilege learn how to be a little quieter.
She could just start with herself. and then that would solve all of our issues. Finally, it wouldn't be a proper library setting if there wasn't a summer drag class being offered to 11-year-olds. The Tompkins County Public Library in Ithaca, New York, is offering a 4-week class entitled Drag Queen. The description reads, participants will learn about costuming, makeup, lip syncing, stage presence, and more. Students will be best served by attending all classes in the series, as each week will address a different aspect of performing drag. Everyone who finishes the series will have the opportunity to perform at a youth drag show on Saturday, July 2nd as part of the Downtown Ithaca Pride Festival. All you need to participate is a library card. So, yeah, 11-year-olds. That sounds like a great summer activity. Or you could just, read a book and do the standard boring summer reading program where you get like prizes and food and rewards and maybe tickets to a basketball game like I used to do back in my day, but I guess I'm old school. But that's going to wrap up today's segment. More craziness next time.
And that's going to do it for this show. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, you all stay educated. We will too. Thank you.